Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Chicago's online worship. I am Monica Kling-Garcia, your Schug ministerial intern, and I am so glad to welcome you to worship this morning. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of children, youth, and adults, a people of many beliefs and traditions, bound not by the specific list of things we believe, but the values we share, and the mission to grow our soul and heal the world. Whether you are joining us online for the first time, or you've worshipped with us thousands of times, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God some of the time, all of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. No matter how much money is in your pocket, no matter if you have a PhD, a GED, or no degree, you belong here. We are a people of many races and beliefs. We are a people of many genders and sexual orientations. All of you is sacred. All of you is welcome. You belong here. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, we must distance ourselves physically, but we can stay connected. In addition to our weekly worship on our YouTube channel, come and follow us on our Facebook page for additional content. We have several small groups meeting by phone and Zoom video conferencing for both connection and church business. To get involved, check your weekly email blast or email the church office for more information. Our contact information is on our website. If the economic hardships of the coronavirus are affecting you, the church is at your side. Our ministers can refer you to resources as well as offer one-time grants from the Minister's Discretionary Fund for the members and friends of this congregation. For more information, just contact the church office to be in touch with Reverend Teri or Reverend David. Throughout today's service, you can interact with one another throughout the comments section. Simply log into your account or create a new YouTube account to leave comments, reactions, and to share prayer requests throughout the service. I invite you now to be present to this moment. Let us enter into this service together as our prelude begins.
Friends, you feel maybe like I do in these days stretching into weeks, stretching into months of separation of virtual church, watching the news with fear and trepidation and anger and resignation and exhaustion and feeling overwhelmed and uncertain of what to do and how to do it and what the road ahead is even going to bring. Friends, maybe you feel a piece of that too. If not now, then in dark hours at night. Our words for the chalice lighting this morning come from Rod Richards. This called Stay Together and Stick Together. He says, a heart carved into the trunk of a tree. A heart carved into the trunk of a tree, colored in red. We who gather here in this tender and anxious and confusing time, we've been awash in a sea of information and misinformation and disinformation. And this information that we seek is simply so that we can make wise decisions about how we respond and learn how we hold one another when we can't hold one another, and decide how we can be when we can't be together. What is this we face? How best do we respond? And why is this happening? The why, and why do those who suffer so suffer most, always suffer most from what we now face? Why? And what can we do for those most at risk, those vulnerable, all the time and now, again? And how do we respond? And how do we hold one another when we can't hold one another? And how do we stay together and stick together and worship together when we can't be together? Yet here we are. Here we are. We are here together. I'll light our chalice this morning in that spirit. The spirit that says, even though things are difficult and overwhelming, even though we may be awash sometimes in a sea of information and misinformation and disinformation, nonetheless, we are not in it alone. We gather together. And I light our chalice this morning in that spirit and hope and memory and reminder of community that hasn't gone away, the reality that we can hold one another, even though we can't hold one another.
I invite you now to join in the reciting of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I invite you now to greet one another warmly in the chat box of friendship.
Friends, will you take a breath with me? And another. And let yourself loosen, and let the ground where you are hold you up. And join with me in a spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love, called by many names and known in many ways. That thing that moves between two people when they see each other wholly. We're here today, a people apart and a people together, a people afraid and a people of hope, a people weeping, and a people committed to holding each other's joys just as well. In the love of this community, we remember and we hold the people who are hurting. We hold in the love of this community Cindy Pardo, recovering from surgery, inch by inch, slowly. We hold in this community Mary Lee Greenlee, recovering too. It's slow-going recovery. We hold in love Joan Forsyth, who passed away from complications of coronavirus. A long-time member who'd moved away. We hold in this community all the cares and all the joys. And I invite you in a few moments when the music begins to share your grief and your happiness in the chat, remembering that it's public. Friends, our words for prayer this morning, our words for memory, our words of commitment to ourselves this morning come from my mentor and friend, the Reverend Victoria Safford. She writes this: please, today, do not tell me there are many ways to look at this, two sides to every story. Please, for now, do not remind me of liberal religion's troubled and troubling tradition of granting equal time and courtesy to every opinion, point of view, and meme. There were very fine people on both sides in Charlottesville. Is that the sacred screed you mean to have me preach? Please. Right now, let's not whimper once again. There's still so much we do not know, because in fact, the facts we have are more than hearts can hold. They shot him in the back. His children in the car. No Black Lives Matters in Kenosha, which is where we live now. You and I, all of us, our hometown, homeland, country is Kenosha. It has been for a long while, guarded by that locked and loaded couple from St. Louis, flanked by flags on center stage. Please, today, do not caution me to keep complexity in mind. Everything is complicated. I know. But this prayer is a simple prayer. Lamentation, sorrow, grief, and all the rage that roars and must and should and will, till love and liberation run rampant in Kenosha. Amen.
Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain? Loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. Loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. Loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. Loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. Loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. The weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. The weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. The weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go.
Will you take a breath with me? Amen. 2,355 years ago, the Greek philosopher Aristotle wrote the first work of literary theory, Poetics. He described how stories work, or how he thinks stories work. He says, a whole is that which has a beginning and a middle and an end. The poet Billy Collins writes this, called Aristotle, of beginnings and middles and endings. This is the beginning. Almost anything can happen. This is where you find the creation of light, a fish wriggling onto land, the first word of Paradise Lost on an empty page. Think of an egg, the letter A, a woman ironing on a bare stage as the heavy curtain rises. This is the very beginning. The first-person narrator introduces himself, tells us about his lineage. The mezzo-soprano stands in the wings. Here, the climbers are studying a map and pulling on long woolen socks. This is early on, years before the arc dawn. The profile of an animal is being smeared on a cave wall, and you have not yet learned to crawl. This is the opening, the gambit, a pawn moving forward an inch. This is your first night with her. This is your first night without her. This is the first part where the wheels begin to turn, where the elevator begins its ascent before the doors lurch apart. This is the middle. Things have had time to get complicated. Messy, really, nothing is simple anymore. Cities have sprouted up along the rivers, teeming with people at cross purposes, a million schemes, a million wild looks. Disappointment unshoulders his knapsack here and pitches his ragged tent. This is the sticky part where the plot congeals, where the action suddenly reverses, swerves off in an outrageous direction. Here, the narrator devotes a long paragraph to why Miriam does not want Edward's child. Someone hides a letter under a pillow. Here, the aria rises to a pitch, a song of betrayal, salted with revenge. And the climbing party is stuck on a ledge halfway up the mountain. This is the bridge, the painful modulation. This is the thick of things. So much is crowded into the middle. The guitars of Spain, piles of ripe avocados, Russian uniforms, noisy parties, lakeside kisses, arguments heard through a wall. Too much to name. Too much to think about. And this is the end. The car running out of road. The river losing its name in the ocean. The long nose of the photographed horse touching the white electronic line. This is the colophon, the last elephant in the parade, the empty wheelchair, pigeons floating down in the evening. Here, the stage is littered with bodies. The narrator leads the characters to their cells, and the climbers are in their graves. It is me hitting the period and you closing the book. It is Sylvia Plath in the kitchen and St. Clement with an anchor around his neck. This is the final bit, the thinning away to nothing. This is the end. According to Aristotle, what we've all been waiting for, what everything comes down to, the destination we cannot help imagining. A streak of light in the sky, a hat on the peg, and outside the cabin, falling leaves. There is a beginning and a middle and an end, says Aristotle. This is what makes a whole. And then in the poetry, 2,300 years later, Billy Collins goes about simultaneously fulfilling that structure and tearing it apart by overwhelming us with too many things happening all at once. And we get lost inside the language of it. Guitars of Spain, piles of ripe avocados, Russian uniforms, noisy parties. Too much to name, too much to think about. It overwhelms. And I feel that sensation so acutely right now, right in this moment, that we're not in the middle of one clean narrative, one story that takes us steadily from A to B to C, and then a period at the end of it. It's not what it feels like right now. We're in the middle of 1,000 stories, each of them piling on top of each other until they can overwhelm. Health and safety and social distancing, politics and election, climate change and natural disaster, an uprising for racial justice. All of these things are at once new and at the same time just a piece of a longer story, a piece of a larger trajectory, something that has no clearly defined beginning and middle and end, but which always goes when you pull on the threads of history. They're tied into every other thread. And here we are now in the present, in the middle of a giant tangle of yarn, which is the stories not just of the larger world, but our own hearts too. And everything in us that brought us into this moment. We're in the middle of the storm. We're in the middle of a time where there are beginnings and endings and complicated middles all happening at once for us. Lives that sometimes are simultaneously packed to overflowing and socially distant, each of us from each other. This is not what we signed up for the fall of 2020. At this point in the church year, most years, I feel like we're at the top of the roller coaster. We have all our potential energy. We're ready to start sliding down and looping around, seeing all of your faces gathered back again here in person as we all come back together from our various forms of summer break. And the work of church starts up, the energy of church starts up again. This is not what we signed up for. To be together again, still on YouTube, still meeting by video. It's not what we signed up for, it's what it is. And we make the best way that we can. But it's not what we planned for. It can be overwhelming. My hope and my prayer in this moment, this Sunday, is to loosen, exactly as the song, the meditation, invited us to. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go. Let go. You won't be swept away. It's okay to be out here in the middle of the storm, in the middle of the ocean. You won't be swept away, and you're not out here alone. It's another piece of poetry by Dan Albergati called Things to Do in the Belly of the Whale. I think of Jonah swallowed and waiting in darkness. And I think of all of us in the belly of the whale, each in our own way, each in our own homes, in our own pods. Things to do in the belly of the whale. Measure the walls, count the ribs, notch the long days. Look up for blue sky through the spout. Make small fires with the broken hulls of fishing boats. Practice smoke signals. Call old friends and listen for echoes of distant voices. Organize your calendar. Dream of the beach. Look each way for the dim glow of light. Work on your reports. Review each of your life's 10 million choices. Endure moments of self-loathing. Find the evidence of those before you. Destroy it. Try to be very quiet and listen for the sound of gears and moving water. Listen for the sound of your heart. Be thankful that you're here, swallowed with all hope, where you can rest and wait. Be nostalgic. Think of all the things you did and could have done. Remember treading water in the center of the still night sea, your toes pointing again and again down, down into the black depths. We gather today, as we do every Sunday, a people listening for the sounds of our own hearts, a people listening for the sound of other voices, a people not gathering alone and apart, but together and apart. Even though this is not what we signed up for. This is not what we planned for, as if our plans have any influence on what the world decides to do anyways. Here we are in it together. And so we go on, and we go forward, and we don't go alone. Amen. Listen for the sound of your own heart. The poet says it, listen for the sound of your own heart. This is not counsel to be passive. This is not counsel to sit idly by. Listen for the sound of your own heart. This is what the NBA players did before they went on strike. Listen for the sound of your own heart. This is what thousands of people did in Kenosha before coming to protest peacefully and demand justice for Jacob Blake, demand real change. Listen for the sound of your own heart. When the beginnings and the middles and the ends all seem to be happening at once, piled up on top of each other, our work is to face the day and be ready for it. And we get ready by listening for the sounds of our hearts, that still small voice that calls us to be hands doing good in the world. Things feel overwhelming right now. That's okay. We're Midwesterners. We know how to leave the house in March with an umbrella and snow boots and sunglasses all at the same time, ready for whatever the day is going to throw at us. We know that the weather is going to change constantly and overwhelm us, and what we do is take ourselves out of bed and get ready, and I don't know, you throw a pair of dry socks in just in case and head out the door. It's the same sort of thing. It's a lot all at once right now. And that's okay. There's a thread that carries us through and carries us out and carries us together. This is the beginning. And this is the middle. And this is the end. And this is not what we signed up for. And here we go. Onwards together. Amen.
The weight of the world in your muscles and bones.